And welcome to another episode of the Tar Heels Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Grant Chachere, bringing you all the latest news in regards to your North Carolina Tar Heels. Of course, on Tuesday, we had, a weekly press conference with Bill Belichick. Um, so in the next podcast episode, I'm going to discuss about the quarterback controversy, right? But we've already talked about that a good bit. So I'm just going to let that be because this is going to be a constant topic of discussion. And we already had enough of that today, especially, in our reactions with Bill. We have a bunch of uh, transcript articles out. No, well, not transcript, but video articles out with a partial transcript of what was said in those press conferences. So make sure to go check that out. And then also, Bill Belichick spoke a good bit about the quarterback battle. I already released an article about that today. So make sure to go check that out as well. But I want to focus on Austin Blaske, right? I want to focus on Austin Blaske. It's been a little while since we've had a podcast episode where we've exclusively talked about the offensive line. It's been a little while. And why am I bringing this up now? It's because Austin Blaske is arguably UNC's best offensive line, and it's not even close. Austin Blaske, of course, was out for the first 3 games of the season due to a lower leg injury. He's back now, but he's not going to be a center, nor will be a guard. He's actually going to be a left tackle. And that's very interesting because, he has played tackle before, right? He played a little bit tackle at Georgia. But since coming to UNC, he's been more of a guard or a center. Like last year, he was UNC's starting center. And he was going to be that before he got hurt. But because Chad Lindbergh has already established himself as a center, he's gotten better over the course of the year. And, of course, you got Aiden Banfield and Daniel King locked up at guard, although I do think that Austin Blaske should take Aiden Banfield's spot because Aiden Banfield really hasn't played well this year, but because of the lack of depth at tackle at the moment. You have Ja'Kai Moore starting. He's been solid throughout the year. But the problem is William Boone is injured at the moment. William Boone would take up one of your tackle spots. But because he's hurt, Austin Blaske had to move out to the left tackle, right? And that's really what I like about Austin Blaske. Austin Blaske is very versatile. I mean, he can play all of the offensive line spots, which is, I wouldn't say rare, but you don't see that. Like maybe you might see like guards and centers, or maybe you might see guard convert to tackle. You see stuff like that, but he has the ability to play the center, guard, and tackle position well, and that's something you don't really see as much in football. Not only just football, but college football in general. So it's very, very interesting. I think UNC is a good position because of his versatility. So, and really now is what would happen if William Boone comes back, right? Will we move down to guard? Will we take Aiden Banfield's spot? Because Daniel King's been playing really well. And Chad Lindbergh, of course, is not giving up that spot because he's been playing well too. And also Chad Lindbergh and Austin Blaske were teammates at Georgia too. So I want to point that out as well. So what would the offensive line look like when everyone's at full health? Will Christian Kelly come back in the offensive line? I mean, because the thing is about UNC, it's not so much about chemistry. Right now, it's about putting the best 5 guys on the field. And that's something that UNC will have to focus on over the course of the year because, you got to find – because they got to find ways to win games because right now it's not looking too good. You got Clemson this Saturday. You have Virginia – because next week is the bye week, so we have Virginia in 2 weeks. They'll be coming here, and Virginia's looking really good. Then you have to travel – you have to go to Cal first, and who's a pretty good team. They're 4-1 right now. Their only loss is San Diego State. San Diego State is a solid mid-major school. I've talked about this before, where San Diego State is always one of the schools that just always seems to find ways to beat up on the Power 4 teams in the West Coast. And so, yeah. And then so they go – Cal's 4-1. You got Virginia's 4-1, who's coming off a huge win to Florida State. And really, this should be 5-0 because they should be NC State in week 2. So you got to face those two teams after the bye week, and then you got to travel to Syracuse. And yes, I know Syracuse, they lost a quarterback for the year, but Syracuse is always a very tough place to play. Then you got of course the Tobacco Road schools, and then you got Wake Forest, Duke, and NC State. The schedule isn't getting any easier. So you have to find the best 5 players you can put on the field on the offensive line. The offensive line has been shaky at times. Pass blocking has been great. They've actually been a solid pass blocking unit to a degree. But run blocking, they've been suspect. And yes, I know DeMond June, had a good stretch of games the last 3 games. However, DeMond June is balling out despite the offensive line and not really blocking well. I mean, just look at all the long runs he had. I mean, those are all DeMond June. That wasn't really the offensive line. So the offensive line has to find – they have to put the best 5 players on the field. And I can't see them – I think if when William Boone comes back, it makes sense to have him at tackle and move Austin Blaske to guard. Probably replacing Aiden Banfield because Aiden Banfield really has not been playing well. So, it's not even so much about chemistry. It's about putting the best 5 guys on the field. And that's something Belichick even mentioned yesterday, too. So how will the offensive line form as they get healthier and healthier? Because you still got Chris Kelly, right? Do they still want to start Chris Kelly because he's healthy now? I mean, it's a lot of questions about what this offensive line will look like. But what I do know, what we do know, is that Austin Blaske is back. They desperately need a leader on the offensive line. He was here last year. He is seen as probably one of the de facto leaders of this team, along with Will Hardy, right? Will Hardy and obviously Chris Kelly to a degree. Those are the guys that the players want to hear from because they've been here, or at least they carry that aura per se, because. I mean, they carry the aura because you need to know who you guys are. Having a leader like Austin Blaske on your offensive line is huge because the Tar Heels need to get going, especially offensively. Yes, we do know the quarterback issue is a major factor in the offense's failures so far. I wouldn't say struggles, to say failures. At least you got Austin Blaske back to kind of help out with the issues on the offensive line. Because once you got it figured out on the offensive line, everything else it'll find itself to come together. And that's the most important thing when it comes to UNC in the near future. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm your host, Grant Chachere. Of course, also the lead beat writer for North Carolina Tar Heels on SI. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Tar Heels on SI. Also, make sure to go follow us on Facebook at Tar Heels. At North Carolina Tar Heels on the side. That's all you got to look up in the search bar. And then also you can find me on social media on Twitter at Chachere Grant. My Twitter handle is down below. And also on Facebook. Just look up Grant Chachere and my profile should pop up. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys